wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, Africa.
Hello and welcome to Africa Watch on the Dr. Mumbi Show. My name is Dr. Mumbi Saraki. How you doing? How's everything going? Thanks to every single person that is subscribed to the channel and that supports us financially through our PayPal and Patreon accounts. Do consider joining our Patreon family if you haven't already, where we release shows way ahead of time where we can, because it is a news channel, so wherever we can. But really, it just enables us to do so much more. Thanks to every single person that donates through the PayPal. I really, really, really appreciate you guys. You guys are just such a blessing to this ministry, because it literally is a ministry, and I appreciate you so much. Now, a lot of you have actually written to me very concerned about what the NBA is planning to do in Africa, and I was also like, what? You know, because Africans are here. I mean, I haven't really heard Africans getting excited about it, but Africans are here wondering, you know, why is the NBA coming to Africa? And that is exactly what's happening. So now it has emerged, actually, the NBA released a statement where they said that they were actually going to be starting a basketball league in Africa. Now, you would think, like, I'm sure, you know, the African youth are happy, although I haven't seen a lot of hype or excitement about it so far on the continent. But you would think that global Africa would be happy. But guys are really actually upset, because they say that the slave plantation system, which has been the basketball and the NFL and the baseball kind of, you know, leagues in the US, which are all owned by, you know, white people, but have all black players. You know, a lot of people call them like plantation sports because, you know, there's not one black owned one, etc. And, you know, so a lot of people are extremely upset. And I just want to confirm, you have reason to be upset, and you're absolutely right. NBA is actually coming to Africa. Can you imagine? And it's their very first league. They don't even have an NBA Europe. They don't even have an NBA Latin America. But they're now coming to an NBA Africa. And a lot of people have been suggesting that this is being done in order to counter China's great strides and great moves within the continent. Because, you know, I've explained this before, how, you know, foreign politics falls under hard power, soft power, and smart power. Hard power is military, guns, germs, steel, etc. That's what a lot of the former colonialists, the UK, the US, and neo-colonialists like the US have actually used on the African continent and other nations, the developing nations across the world. Then we have the soft power, which is the US has been the master of soft power, where they've used Hollywood, they've used actors and actresses, and you know, their sports and everything. The UK has also used like the British, you know, British Premier League, and they've kind of, this is what they've used to promote their culture across the world. Now, other nations have used like food, which is a form of soft power. So we see Thailand. There's Thai restaurants nearly in every nation across the world. Chinese restaurants nearly in every nation across the world. Now, Japanese restaurants as well. So you see, this is how different governments and different, you know, use foreign policy to kind of spread their culture across the world. And what is happening now is China used smart power. So they used some soft power in terms of money, which is so they use the soft power and hard power. They use the money, no strings attached, and then now they're bringing in their military. So you can see a switch in foreign policy. But those are stories for other days. I just wanted to give you that background to kind of explain, why would the NBA be coming to Africa? People are saying it's a big response to what China is doing, and it's, you know, I told you before, they're coming for our youth, because that's where they see the money, that's where they see the market, and that's where they see the you know, the neo-colonial agenda being easily implemented. And you know, the whole American system has always targeted the youth. So they get you when you're 12. So by the time you're 20, you're theirs totally. You're totally in that culture. So the reason they're doing this is to try and counter China, and try and, you know, kind of have a foothold and a stronghold. Because guess what? Guess who's going to have a key role in NBA Africa? And they're calling it Basketball Africa League. Just take a wild guess. Obama, as in Barack Moloch costume wearing Obama, is gonna be the head of this NBA league. And I'll tell you why. The signs were there, a couple of months ago when he came to Kenya and, in Kogelo. Remember that? We'll be right back.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, Africa.
Forces arrayed against us are, and I use the word most carefully, formidable. They are entrenched and powerful. They are, as I have taken some pains to explain, the forces of imperialism acting through their instruments, neocolonialism and colonialism, ably assisted by the agents of the Cold War. They operate in worldwide combinations at all levels: political, economic, military, cultural, educational, social, and trade. And not all, and through intelligence, cultural, and information services. They operate from European and African centers, using agents who, I'm ashamed to say, are often unpatriotic sons of Africa, buying personal satisfactions with the betrayal of their country's safety and integrity. They seduce leaders. They seduce leaders of the African political, trade union, and people's organization, thus creating rifts and quarrels within the national front. On the broader front, they are amassing their forces in a determined effort to stay the advance of African liberation and the march of unity. They are attempting many methods, some sinister, some beguiling, to wreck our efforts. They strike antipathetic postures. On one side, they perform acts calculated to strike fear. On the other, they try to hoodwink us with fictitious gifts, which superficially pander to our hopes and aspirations. They are the present attempts to deflect our purpose, to weaken our determination.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, Africa.
Welcome back to Africa Watch on the Dr. Mumbi Show. My name is Dr. Mumbi Saraki. How are you doing? How's everything going? So the NBA is coming to Africa and people are not excited. At least the woke community is super upset. And our African American brothers and sisters as well, because they know firsthand how, these leagues like the NBA league have actually been used to, control, dispossess, and literally make our people, neo-slaves, even though they have all the wealth and everything. It's a big lie. Anyway, I'll do a show on that in the future. But can you imagine that Barack Obama is the one who's going to be in charge of this whole system? Well, he's going to have a big role. And I told you guys, when he came, he has an agenda. And he has an agenda for our youth. And when he came to Kogelo last year to open his, his sister's center, I covered it, extensively, and I'll actually attach the video here. Why I was, saying beware of his arrival, because he's one of the most evil men that has ever lived. While he was here, he actually came with a few basketball guys, and I don't know if they were NBA players. I think there was one NBA player, and the main event, apart from him speaking and them opening, is they had a basketball game, and everyone was like, oh my god, so cute, Barack playing, and he shot a few hoops, whatever. But they had planned this, that you see how these guys, their strategy, they play long game, and this is why Africa keeps losing, because our game is so short. It's here. We're just thinking of eating, sleeping, and doing other stuff, the basics. But these guys are thinking so far ahead. So when he came last year, Kumbe, he knew that this NBA league was, the Basketball Africa League was actually about to be formed. And so he was kind of just, because they're always just prompting the mind, preempting the mind, planting that seed that will later, bear fruit. So the sad thing is that I know a lot of African youth are going to be super, super excited because they've grown up on the NBA, etc. But this is so sad. The games are supposed to begin in 2020. 9 countries have been chosen, and just listen to the names of these countries: Angola, Morocco, Senegal, Egypt, Nigeria, South Africa, Tunisia, Rwanda, and Kenya. All these are significant across Africa. What surprised me though is that we only have one South African nation, but very specific the countries they've picked. And what they're doing is they're going to have the qualification tournaments to be held later this year in 2019. And the sad thing is, who's going to own this league? Who's going to be funding this league? Guess. Apparently, it's going to be the NBA partners. And several team owners allegedly have already expressed interest in running some of these teams. So they're literally transplanting the NBA to Africa. NBA, Caucasian, white supremacist owners and all. So these aren't going to be owned by Africans, and they're not going to be like, because there are current leagues, there are current small leagues that exist in different nations. I want to say there's like an African basketball tournament. If you know about it, please give us details of what currently exists. Other people were saying that Ice Cube had actually talked of starting a basketball league. Allegedly, there's also an NFL league that was going to be started in Africa. I don't know if you know, but there's a Kenyan on playing for the NFL, which was a big deal then. And so now, this is going to be the first pro NBA league outside North America, but it's going to be run by the NBA and by the International Basketball Federation, which is called FIBA, but it's going to be owned and financed by the NBA in the US. I mean, so of course this is foreign policy. This is foreign policy. They're not just doing this for the good of Africa. They're not just doing this for the love of the sport. Sometimes you can understand, okay, soccer, love of the sport, whatever. This is their way of not only having soft power in Africa, but tapping into the youth. Because I told you, the most valuable possession on the African continent right now is not our gold, it's not our diamonds, it's not our rubies, it's not our oil, it's not our gas, it's our people and it's our youth. And the fact that over 60% of our youth is below 30 years old. So now they're starting an NBA league just like that. Anyway, leave your comments, let me know what you think.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake